Here we are, folks, the top 10 Backlog Battle Games of the Year, where your choices sit alongside mine as we count down to our collective Games of the Year for 2025. I hope you all are excited because the results have surprised me so far. If you haven't seen the top 20 to top 11 yet, go do that now. It's a great way to prepare yourself for this video, and maybe some of your favorites are in there too. Like I said, very surprising. But enough chatter, we've got a lot of games to talk about in this video. Starting with number 10, and your winner for 10th place goes to Silent Hill F. Last year's Silent Hill 2 remake proved that the series still has life in it. But it's been a long time since the series produced a new release, and it doesn't actually have a good track record when it comes to that. Thankfully, Silent Hill F stuck the landing and proved that Silent Hill is here to stay. While fans were initially wary of the setting being far removed from what they were used to, the way Silent Hill F incorporated psychological and symbolic horror with traditional Japanese environments and folklore is nothing short of inspiring. Written by famed author Yukishi07, known for his work on Higurashi and Umineko, he brought his special brand of horror to craft an experience only he could deliver. It was this unique perspective that allowed him to craft complex, unsettling tales, which is perfect for Silent Hill. If you're ready to experience this frightfully gripping narrative, you can pick up Silent Hill F on PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. There's another game that shares the top 10 spot alongside Silent Hill F, but before we get to that, I want to take this opportunity to do a special mention. This game sadly wasn't eligible for this year's celebrations because of the cutoff date. Frankly, this is a shame, but we can't make any exceptions as we've had these rules locked down for years. So I want to take this opportunity to mention Octopath Traveler 0. If you've seen my posts on Twitter, you know how insufferable I've been about this game. It is my favorite Octopath Traveler out of all the games in the series, as it not only takes a mobile game and turns it into a really engaging console experience, but it's also got some of the best stories and mechanics in series history. Check out my review of the game and download the demo, which lets you carry over the save to the full game. Here's hoping people remember this game when it comes time to vote for games next year. Octopath Traveler 0 is out on PlayStation and Switch platforms, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. Let's find out what tied with Silent Hill F at 10th place. Monster Hunter Wilds. Monster Hunter Wilds expanded the Monster Hunter series by delivering a more seamless open-world design, more accessibility, and a more ambitious storyline. It marries the best elements of what worked in the past with more modern open-world sensibilities. And despite some growing pains bringing this game to a larger audience, it can't be denied that many hours were spent, and are still being spent, on this game. Months removed from its release, many fans now see it as the best entry point in the series. And while there are still some concerns about its endgame being too easy, it can't be denied that many players are still flocking to see what Monster Hunter Wilds offers, as evidenced by its placement here. Monster Hunter Wilds is available on PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. Now that you've seen both of your voted number 10s, it's time to officially start my list. My 10th place goes to Lunar Remastered Collection. Remasters and remakes had a great year, and this was a game that I've been looking forward to playing again for decades. With localization based on the original Working Designs script, the Lunar Remastered Collection is the peak collection that you just can't beat. I personally think that Lunar Silver Star Story and Lunar Eternal Blue are two of the best RPGs Game Arts has ever made. Sorry, Grandia. And this collection just highlights why. The anime cutscenes have been beautifully upscaled, complete with new voice acting, which I admit I was a little hesitant on, but has now grown on me. But being able to play both Lunar games today, with all of the modern quality of life updates, is heaven sent. And if you haven't played this pair of JRPGs, I promise you that you'll fall in love with every single character in these stories. Lunar Remastered Collection is available on PS4, Switch, and PC. Moving along to 9th place, Your 9th place winner is Split Fiction. Split Fiction continues Hazelight's goal of creating some of the most eclectic and unique two-player games ever made. Split Fiction is a game where two authors, one specializing in science fiction, the other in fantasy, visit a tech company to have their work created in a simulation that they now have to survive. When jumping between the sci-fi and fantasy worlds, you'll go from driving Tron-inspired light cycles to riding on fire-breathing dragons, shooting laser guns in a high-speed chase, to Tarzan swinging in beautiful lush forests. In a weird way, the game kinda reminds me of Nier Automata, in a sense that you go through multiple gameplay types while the controls remain relatively the same. That said, Hazelight's games tend to take this even further, as each level often fluidly shifts genres, from platforming, shooting, racing, and even a straight-up fighting game. With only a single copy necessary, you and a friend can enjoy Split Fiction on PS5, Xbox Series X and S, Switch 2, and PC. I'm really surprised by your list so far. That's 3 non-JRPGs in your top 10. Where did they go, I wonder? My 9th place winner goes to Fantasian-NeoDimension. I am genuinely surprised that Fantasian-NeoDimension didn't even place in your top 20. I get it, it was released towards the tail end of 2024. It's easy to forget. But the story, the challenge, and that innovative combat system that had you bending trajectories and banking random encounters to fight later is just such a treat that the added voice acting added just the right amount of flavor to a game that I absolutely adore. I've spoken to Hironobu Sakaguchi before, and he told me that Fantasian was the fulfillment of this what-if scenario that answers the question of what would happen if Final Fantasy went in a totally different direction after 6? And now that it's widely available to everyone, you can now experience the last complete soundtrack Nobuo Uematsu will ever compose. I promise that that's a treat in and of itself. Fantasian-NeoDimension is available on PlayStation platforms, Xbox Series X and S, Switch, and PC. Moving on to 8th place. Your 8th place winner is Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma. It's a great time to be a cozy RPG fan. First, Fantasy Life I, and now Rune Factory. While the aforementioned game was made for folks who want the chill vibes long promised by the genre, Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma is for those who want a little bit more meat in the bones. Gone are the mechanics that punished you for taking your sweet time. Instead, Guardians of Azuma doubles down on everything you love about the series, and tries not to get in your way of actually playing the game. That's why so many reviewers said that it felt more like an action game than any of the previous entries, because if you did want to do that, the game will let you. If you want to talk about what the most accessible Rune Factory is, the community has unanimously agreed. Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma is the best entry point in the series. It's available on Switch platforms and PC. And my pick for 8th place winner is Pokemon Legends ZA. Pokemon and I have a love-hate relationship over the years, but somehow the Pokemon Legends series just spoke to me like no other Pokemon game before. Compared to Arceus, ZA basically turned the sub-series into Xenoblade, mapping abilities to a face button like the aforementioned game, making it feel more action-packed despite the obvious turn-based lean under the hood. And the Mega Evolutions, and the fact that your trainer could get injured as well, added to the heightened nature of its battles, raising the stakes beyond your typical Pokemon skirmishes. Add to that this addictive ranking system that's got you ranking from Z to A, and it's no wonder that it's got me glued to my Switch 2 for hours on end. Pokemon Legends ZA is available on both Switch platforms natively. We are at number 7, everyone. Your pick for 7th place winner is Hollow Knight Silksong. Reesk87 had this to say about the game. I consider Silksong to be the perfect execution of the genre. It's flawless, or at least any flaws it does have added to the enjoyment I experienced while playing it. It's been a very difficult year to pick a game of the year. Personally, I love Metroidvanias, and I'm glad that you all voted Hollow Knight Silksong so high on this list. Do you think you'll see it in mine? Stay tuned and find out. My 7th place choice in my top 10 list goes to Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma. Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma's freedom is unprecedented in a genre that's long tried to balance its gaminess with a freedom that's been promised by cozy gaming. And while its town building, action gameplay, and relationships are much more improved from the previous games, it's the freedom to do anything you want that I'll always come back to. Even now, many months removed from my review, I still find myself going back to the town I built, now building new relationships, and adjusting small things in the town I've built. And the story that they've made is so engaging that I remember not being able to put it down while I was reviewing it, totally beside myself from wanting to just proclaim to people how amazing this game was. And you agreed too, since it placed in your top 10. Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma is available on Switch platforms natively and PC. We're almost halfway at 6th place. Your 6th place winner is Ghost of Yotei. Sucker Punch was one of those studios that I would have loved to work at if I ever aspired to be a game designer again. With incredible series like Sly Cooper and Infamous, these guys know how to make games. So when Ghost of Tsushima turned out to be a smash hit, you have to have known that a sequel was inevitable. But what makes Ghost of Yotei interesting, however, is that it doesn't take place directly after the first one. Ghost of Yotei takes place over 300 years after the events of Ghost of Tsushima. This allows anyone to play the sequel without feeling as though they needed to have played the original. And maybe this is just me, but how did it take us this long to get a big-budget open-world samurai series? That said, if roaming around a beautiful Japanese countryside on horseback while dual-wielding katanas sounds up your alley, Ghost of Yotei is surely to satisfy that desire. And at least for the time being, it's exclusive to the PS5. My 6th place winner goes to another game that didn't make your top 20. Dragon Quest I and II HD 2D Remake. When Square Enix was talking about how they're lifting up the Erdrick trilogy to a whole new level, players who played the originals and the ports couldn't fathom how much more the games would change. But with the release of Dragon Quest I and II HD 2D Remake, the ultimate realization of that vision was finally displayed for all to see. And what resulted is the perfect order to play the Erdrick trilogy. Dragon Quest I was the perfect break from the enormity of parts 3 and 2, allowing you to enjoy an adventure by your lonesome, while setting up elements that play out in part 2. And part 2 not only delivers an incredibly satisfying conclusion to the entire Erdrick trilogy, but it finally breathes life into its main cast, giving them engaging backstories, attitudes, and motivations that fully flesh out who they are when compared to previous versions of the game. This release makes this HD 2D Erdrick trilogy the definitive take on these 3 games moving forward. And anyone who's held out on these games this year is surely missing out on some of the best RPG adventures of 2025. Dragon Quest I and II HD 2D Remake is available on Switch platforms, PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. Okay, just checking in, but have you seen your favorite game so far? We've got 5 more to go, so let's keep on going. Your 5th place winner goes to Donkey Kong Bonanza. When news hit that the Switch 2 wasn't going to get a new Mario or Zelda game at launch, skeptics scoffed at the idea that Nintendo would dare launch it with a Donkey Kong game, of all things. But when Donkey Kong Bonanza came out, it quickly became the first real must-have title for the Switch 2. With a unique blend of acrobatic antics with environment-breaking chaos, it's hard not to get wrapped up in the whimsical anarchy this game provides. I'd even go far as to say that even if you're not big on 3D platformers, this is a game that offers so much fun and excitement that you should seriously consider giving it a try. I had such a good time running around environments, smashing stuff and collecting things, that I lost track of time and realized that I made little progress in the game itself. It reminded me of when I was a kid, when I'd just goof off in a game and have a good time, getting lost in these worlds and not caring about making quote-unquote tangible progress. And I think Nintendo meant to do that from the very beginning. Donkey Kong Bonanza is exclusive to Switch too. And my choice for 5th place goes to Lost Eidolon's Veil of the Witch. If you told me that I'd rank a roguelite in my top 5 games of the year months ago, I wouldn't have believed you. But here we are. Lost Eidolon's Veil of the Witch is sitting pretty at number 5, and much deserving of it too. While there have been plenty of roguelites on this top 20, Veil of the Witch does the impossible by managing to deliver a compelling turn-based tactical RPG experience while blending it with roguelite mechanics. After all, when we think of roguelites, we think of repeated runs that allow us to get back into the action quickly. But Veil of the Witch was designed so well that typically lengthy battles in the genre often finish in mere minutes, while still keeping the type of brutal balance that roguelites are known for. And beyond that, you genuinely feel for the cast as you trudge through multiple areas and try to desperately reach the end. You might want to check how much it's going for too, because it's not as expensive as you might think it is. You'll be able to play it on PS5, Xbox Series X and S, Switch, and PC. We're almost to top 3. Your 4th place winner goes to Final Fantasy Tactics: The Ivalice Chronicles. When people discuss the greatest tactical RPGs of all time, Final Fantasy Tactics easily makes that list. The only problem is that this legendary title was stuck on some odd platforms over the years, and when the weird Nvidia leaks hinted at a remake in development, the interest reached a fever pitch. We were finally able to play it this year with Final Fantasy Tactics: The Ivalice Chronicles. In fact, they actually did us one better. This enhanced remake also includes the original version as you remember it. So whether you're an old fan looking for an excuse to replay it, or someone that wants to know what the fuss is all about, you can pick up Final Fantasy Tactics: The Ivalice Chronicles on PlayStation and Switch platforms, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. And my pick for 4th place is Quartet. Quartet is the closest we've got to something even remotely close to Octopath Traveler on these rankings. And it's such a crazy coincidence that it landed at number 4. Quartet is the indie game this year that truly captures that JRPG spirit in every piece of its design. It's thanks to its beautiful pixel art, compelling characters, and really fun gameplay that makes it rank so high on my list. The elegant way that you'll have to manage your resources while thinking up the best party comps felt like it just meshed all of its mechanics well together in such harmony that it truly was a joy to experience from start to finish. But it's more than just the greatest hits of every single JRPG that inspired it. Its writing demonstrates a clear understanding as to why we all loved the narratives in the classic era of JRPGs. And its level design rivals many of those classics as well, encouraging exploration. Quartet is this year's Chained Echoes, and if you call yourself a fan of JRPGs, you definitely won't want to miss this one. Quartet is out now on PC, with console versions releasing in 2026. We are officially in the top 3. Your top 3 winner, your bronze winner, is Hades 2. Prodigy Zero had this to say about the game. Hades 2 is a major step up from the first game, and it plays so well. The art, the music, and the vocal performances are top-notch. I had a hard time putting it down as the gameplay loop is very addicting. The game challenges me in all the right ways, and I always feel like I'm progressing. The amount of content present is also astounding. There's always something to upgrade, craft, and experiment, with various builds and weapons. Melinoe is also a great main character, and I loved her design. All in all, it's a well-polished, fun, and imaginative game that I plan on playing for a long time. Honestly, there's nothing I can add to that. Hades 2 is one of the best games of the year, bar none, and it beat out so many incredible JRPGs too. Truly well-deserved. Hades 2 is available on Switch platforms and PC. My choice for my top 3 winner, my bronze winner, is Trails in the Sky First Chapter Remake. Many Trails purists have been waiting for years for me to say the things I'm about to say right now, so listen up. Trails in the Sky First Chapter Remake is the only way to start your Trails adventure. Not with the original, not with any of the story arcs either. It's this one, and for good reason. It is the Trails series at its most uncorrupted. Its UI quality of life features makes its orbit systems more accessible than even the latest entries in the series. Its vibrant and colorful world starkly contrasts with the sterility of the latest arc's visuals. And I'm sorry, but releasing this game while the new arcs are unfolding is the kind of reality check that just makes you think of how the series has been long in the tooth. But they didn't just stop with making it fully 3D. The hybrid combat system from the Daybreak series is here, allowing you to engage in action combat or turn-based gameplay at your choosing. The English voice acting is superb, and the story and the heartbreaking finale are all here, intact, and ready for you to experience all over again, or for the first time if you haven't. So yes, if you ask me now which game in the series you should start with, it'll easily be Trails in the Sky First Chapter Remake. And instead of just jumping into SC, just wait for the remake of that. You can play Trails in the Sky First Chapter Remake on Switch platforms, PS5, and PC. And your top 2 winner, Silver, goes to Trails in the Sky First Chapter Remake. This is one of those moments that's kinda silly to talk about the same game back to back, even though they're separated by a placement. But it's obvious that Trails in the Sky First Chapter Remake resonated with so many of you, much more so than any other JRPG in this entire top 20. Aside from the things that I already said, the characters we're introduced to are some of the most memorable and beloved in the entire series. And I don't know about you, but seeing all these cutscenes and heartfelt moments unfold with higher quality cutscenes and in full 3D made me feel emotional. But what makes this remake so much more special than any others out there is that it still manages to feel the same despite its many changes. The vibe of exploring the same countryside and towns we've discovered before feels different yet familiar in this new perspective. And when the feels hit, they hit even harder than before. It sounds silly to say again, but you can play Trails in the Sky First Chapter Remake on Switch platforms, PS5, and PC. My top 2 winner already appeared on your list, but it appears much higher on mine. My top 2 winner, Silver, goes to Final Fantasy Tactics The Ivalice Chronicles. Just to change it up, I'll be frank. I hated Final Fantasy Tactics. It was slow, many of its mechanics felt outdated, even when compared to what was already released at the time. And the soft lock that happens when a battle with a certain character beats the crap out of you if you're unprepared, not knowing you sealed your fate by saving right before that, was absolute garbage. The Ivalice Chronicles fixes all of that, and I'm not just talking about the enhanced version either. The original game now features autosaves as well, so when you get to that point, it makes a save beforehand that lets you prepare for that battle while still respecting the original's flow. So no more soft locking regardless of which version you choose to play. And here's the rub. All the things that I complained about, they addressed those too. And that's all because its original leads played through the game years ago and thought, you know, we can make this better. I can go on and on about how incredible this game is, and it would fill another video. In fact, I already did in my review. But I hope that I've managed to get across that Final Fantasy Tactics The Ivalice Chronicles is the best JRPG I've played this year. You can play it on PlayStation and Switch platforms, Series X and S, and PC. And finally, my Game of the Year, which also happens to be your Game of the Year. The gold standard is Clair Obscur Expedition 33. So many of you have lots to say about this game, but let me start by just saying that I felt that if I placed Clair Obscur Expedition 33 anywhere less than Game of the Year, I'd be lying to myself. This game moved me from beginning to end, got me invested in a world that I never knew I'd love, got me to care about characters I never knew I'd miss, all the while enjoying its QTE-heavy turn-based combat more than I ever would have. Avalon Lee says that it's one of those once-in-a-generation games that defines the era it's part of, further calling it this generation's OG Final Fantasy VII. Tales Freak says that Clair Obscur Expedition 33 became their new favorite, going so far as to calling it perfect, a masterpiece that they proclaim would be their favorite game until they die. Omnia Mutatus says that Clair Obscur Expedition 33 reminded them of why they fell in love with the genre to begin with. And finally, Catherine also shared that Clair Obscur Expedition 33 brought them back to gaming after experiencing a painful loss last year, citing its incredible art style, heartbreaking story, and incredible soundtrack as the things that brought her hope in such a dark time. From its wonderful story, expansive world, memorable characters, engaging gameplay, and its emotional soundtrack, Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is undoubtedly our Backlog Battle Game of the Year for 2025. And if you haven't yet, you can play Clair Obscur Expedition 33 on PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. Congratulations to all the games featured in our top 20, and I hope that these videos helped you find your next adventure. This is your Auntie Lexi, and I just want to say thank you for being a part of our adventures this year. If you like this video, hit the subscribe button and join the conversation in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.